Well, most of us have seen multiple renditions of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. Personally, I love that story, and so I find each of them have their own good qualities. There's always something about each one I like, but especially I really like the Muppet version. Okay, it's a really good version. I thought they did a really good job at staying true to the original story while making the concepts available to all ages in our modern culture. They just did a good job of blending it. In that version, Ebenezer Scrooge makes this statement to his clerk: "Christmas is a very busy time for us, Mr. Cratchit. People preparing feasts, giving parties, spending the mortgage money on frivolities. One might say that December is the foreclosure season, harvest time for the moneylenders." That statement, I think, would have most likely rang true, a true sentiment in the 1840s when Charles Dickens wrote his original classic. I think the way they presented that was correct. However, in the 21st century, here in our day, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. See, Christmas is the planting time for the moneylenders. They start harvesting from you in January. That's the way it works today. Our moneylenders aren't in a dark office misering coal. They're connected to you through little pieces of plastic that you carry in your wallet. And they're always with you, ready to loan you some money to collect with interest. And yes, I'm talking about your credit cards. Those companies are moneylenders. It's what they do for a living. They lend money. They charge you fees and they charge you interest to borrow that money from them. And so I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I hope it was blessed and a good time. We've passed Black Friday. We have passed the beginning of the Christmas shopping season. It's now in full swing. And so now is a very good time for us to pause and remember what the Bible has to say and to teach about debt. Right? There's your Christmas message. Don't go into debt. Bah humbug to you too, right? Okay. Yeah, but we're going to go there. We're going to see what God has to say. This is Proverbs chapter 22, verse 7. It says, "The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is slave to the lender." This is as simple as it gets. The borrower is the slave to the lender, because not only do you have to pay back what you borrow, you pay it back with interest. You pay back much more than you borrow, which means you are now working, turning over part of what you earn to someone else. That's what happens when you borrow money. Debt is a form of slavery where someone else gets the benefit of your labor. That's the way the Bible describes it. The slower you pay it back, the more you will pay over the long run. People will say, well, the interest on my credit card is this month was only $40. Well, firstly, that's $40 that you could have spent on something you need or something you want, not giving it to the credit card company. But instead, you were giving it to the credit card company for the privilege of borrowing their money. Secondly, when talking about money, there is no such thing as only. There's no such thing as only. Only is an emotional term we use to justify spending. When a salesman wants you to buy something, they want to sell it to you, they will tell you, it's only $400 a month. Okay? Now, it's an outrageous $400 a month. They'll tell you it's only $400 a month. When they want to sell you something, they'll tell you it's only $29.99. Okay? That's a sales pitch. They say only to give you a good emotional feeling so you will feel smart in buying it. So you will feel like you're getting a good deal or you're saving money, but you're not saving money. You're spending money. People get excited when they think, well, I'm getting something 10% off. What they fail to realize is if you don't buy it, you save 100%. Okay? But this is the truth. When you save money, you still have the money in your wallet. Anytime you purchase anything from anyone, no matter how good the deal seems, you are not saving, you are spending. You're spending money. You're shopping. My granddaughter has discovered shopping. This is fun to watch. Okay, that's a whole different story. You may get a great deal that helps you spend less, but you're still spending, not saving. Saving is when you put money aside that you will have for later. However, a far more dangerous thing than when the salesman tells you something is only is when we use the term ourselves to justify our own spending. Now, we all know that the salesman's lying to us. I mean, you go to a car salesman, it's a common joke in our society. We know that they're trying to put one over on us. They want us to buy their product. They want us to make it sound as good as they can so they can make the sale. But we will also try and talk ourselves into buying stuff by saying, it's only. Oh, it's only $5. It's only. No, it is exactly $5. There's no such thing as only money. It's always exactly money. Money is quantifiable in an exact amount. If you're saying only, you're trying to motivate yourself emotionally to justify it. Always. And if you spend only $5 on your morning coffee every day, okay, only $5, then that is exactly $1,825 a year. You can make your own coffee at home for a fraction of the price. Well, any grind, you can get it cheaper at home. You can make it cheaper at home. If you want to save $1,500 a year, simply stop buying overpriced coffee every morning and make it yourself. You know, that's what my wife and I did. We figured this out years ago, back when we were still in seminary college. We bought our own coffee maker, still have it. It's still running more than 20 years later. And we have saved tens of thousands of dollars by making our own coffee. However, if you buy that same coffee on a credit card every morning, then on the average, you'll wind up paying $2,007.50 a year for the same coffee. That's an extra $182.50 a year you paid in interest. Credit cards make bad spending habits more costly. That's what they do. Well, how do you get yourself into this dynamic of wasting $2,000 a year? You can do it very easily just by every day justifying your spending by saying it's only $5. Pick any amount you want, but at the minute you're saying it's only, to justify it, you're going to wind up in a dynamic of spending money that you really shouldn't. Otherwise, you wouldn't be saying it's only. The same dynamic works for anything else that you have to justify, saying it only cost. Now, people will say something like it's only a certain amount when they want to buy it. They say it's only to silence their conscience, which is reminding them of their obligation to be good stewards, of their resources, the resources God has given you. And so anytime you catch yourself using the word only to justify spending, anytime you catch yourself saying it's only $5, you need to recognize you are emotionally trying to justify it in your own mind. Now, you can fix that, fix your language, fix the way you talk to yourself by changing the word from only to exactly. Tell yourself it is exactly $5 and see if you still feel like buying it. Change how you think of the money. It's not only, it's exactly. It's real $5, an exact amount. Now, people often don't think through how things add up over time. It's one of the difficulties. It's one of the things our society catches us with and gets us to spend money because we don't think about the long-term effects on a small-term purchase. We think in terms of only. This dynamic is why they started requiring credit card companies to tell you how long it'll take to pay off your loan. If you look at a lot of your statements, it'll be on there. It'll tell you, if you make the minimum payment, this is how long it's going to take, and this is how much you'll pay over the course of however many years that is. They do that so you will realize and recognize what the final total will be if you only make the minimum payments. So people can see what they're really paying. That was necessary because people tend to think in terms of it's only. It's only $40 a month. Well, $40 a month over 3 years is a lot of money. When you only pay the minimum payments on any debt, you are losing a lot of money, and you are working hours just to pay that interest, making you quite literally the slave of the company who loaned you the money. You're not working for you, you're working for them to pay them off. The money that you could have had from your work to be used on your expenses, to be put into your savings, is going to the moneylenders. Scrooge is happy with this arrangement, okay? That was his business. That is what debt does. It makes it so that a portion of your hard-earned money goes to someone else. And the Bible refers to this as a form of slavery. The more you borrow, the more you lose, and the more you are working for the benefit of someone else. Now, it gets worse. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 26. Don't be one of those who enter agreements, who put up a security for loans. If you have nothing with which to pay, even your bed will be taken from under you. See, if you reach the point in your debt that you can't make your payments, then you begin to lose stuff. You begin to lose the stuff you've been buying. This could come in the form of, the company that loaned you money repossessing the stuff you couldn't pay for. Like you go over to rent a center. Okay, you can't make your payment, they're taking it back. Then they're selling it to someone else. When that happens, you lose your down payment. You lose any payments you've made up to that point, as well as the item you've purchased. You lose all of it. If you can't make the payments on something you financed, you lose everything you have invested up to that point, and in some cases, you may still be left owing payments even after they've taken it back. Because if they sell it off to someone else and it doesn't come up to the amount you owed, you still owe. Another thing that can happen is if you took out a loan using maybe your home, maybe you used it as collateral, one of those home equity loans. I don't know about you. I'm always getting phone calls of, we want to loan you money. We want to loan you. I get letters in the mail every day. We want to loan you money on your home equity. Those go right through the shredder. I don't want to loan on my home, on my equity. I don't want it. But if you take that loan and you can't make the payments that you get to own, then they own part of your house. You can lose it. They can foreclose on your house, and you'll lose all the years of payments you've made, all of the down payment, all of the investments you've made in your house. It's gone because you couldn't pay your debt. That's what it says in Proverbs. They may even take your bed away from you. You're going to lose your place to sleep. That's what Proverbs is describing. And so we are told, don't borrow money. Don't enter into loan agreements. Don't put things you own up for security on those loans, because if something goes wrong and you can't pay it back, you could lose everything. To borrow money is at best to sell your future. You're selling your future to someone else. And at worst, it's to gamble your future, to gamble everything you own, potentially losing all that you've worked for over the many, many years of labor. Furthermore, in the New Testament, we're going to jump to the New Testament just for a moment. We are told this. This is Romans chapter 13, verse 8. Paul writes, do not owe anyone anything except to love one another. For one who loves another has fulfilled the law. What God wants for your life is for you to live debt-free. That is a biblical concept. So that you don't owe anyone anything. The way you can walk with Christ. This way you walk with Christ free and unhindered by the worldly obligations. If you want to live in financial freedom and you don't want the material things of this world interfering with your spiritual walk, then you need to break the chains of debt that are keeping you in bondage. You do that by obeying God's instructions. You avoid debt. You stop doing it. This concept is countercultural in our society. Okay, this sounds radical to us as modern Americans because we live in a debt-driven economy. Our economy is heavily based on debt and borrowing and the payment of interest on loans. In fact, I would dare to say most of our nation's economic problems stem from the refusal of our nation to obey God's instructions regarding debt. What would our nation be like if we didn't have a national debt? I think I just saw it was $38 trillion. Well, each of us owe a share of that, right? Well, let me tell you, it isn't easy to follow God's instructions on finances in the world in which we live. We live in a debt-driven economy. Where living in debt is considered normal behavior. It's considered normal. They encourage it. My guess is that All of us have come under the influence of that debt-driven culture. At the turn of the millennium, sounds so long ago, doesn't it? The turn of the millennium. My wife and I, when we got married, I had a fair amount of credit card debt back in the day. And we decided to go back to school, and we did take out college loans in order to do that. We decided we were going to finish college at all costs. And let me tell you, that's what it was, all cost. It was expensive. Those debts were eating us alive. And we made a tough decision. We decided we weren't going to go any deeper into that trap. It's not easy to do. But we were going to break those chains of debt. We were going to stop the cycle that was keeping us enslaved to the credit card companies. There came a day where we drew a line in the sand and said, we just aren't going to buy anything else that we can't afford to pay for. If we don't have the cash, we're not doing it. If we couldn't afford it, we did without. And yes, that sometimes means you want to be financially free. Sometimes you have to live like you're in poverty. That's how you get there. It's a hard thing to do when the credit cards are tempting you to use them. You know, I really want some pizza right now, and the bank account says no. Credit card's tempting. Now, let me give you the short version. It took years, but we both worked hard. We controlled our spending. We learned to spend differently. We paid off our credit cards and student loans. You know, the government did not pay off my student loans. I paid them off. That's the way student loans are supposed to work. You take out a loan, you pay it off. I paid off my own student loans. And while I was pastoring, I worked. I technically was pastoring bivocationally at the time. I worked as a library assistant, and I worked as a janitor, and my wife got a job. She worked for the state, and we paid off our debts. We paid off those credit cards, what we owed. And what you find after you've paid off your debts is all that money that was going to the credit cards is now yours. You know, that $40 or $50 or $60 a month times 10, however many credit cards you have, is now yours. That couple $100 a month you're paying on your student loan, it's now yours because you're not having to pay them anymore. They're paid off. It changes your dynamic. You're no longer working for someone else to pay them interest. You get to keep and use what you make. It's a whole different lifestyle. So how much are you paying in interest each month to all your cards and loans? And that'd be a different number for each one of us. But just imagine what your life would be like if you got to keep all that money. What would your life be like if you had no credit card payments? Well, the way to do that is to pay them off. What's your life like if you have no student loan payments? Well, the way to do that is pay them off. That's what being debt-free will do for you. Now, anyway, Joy and I, we did get through that, and we did go on to seminary. And I've got to tell you, seminary is different. At least in the Southern Baptist world, our seminary system, they don't offer loans. I mean, all the other schools you go to, you know, they'll offer you student loans. The seminary system don't. Firstly, because the Bible's clear about not going into debt. So the expectation of the seminary students is that they will not go into debt for school. But our seminaries, I mean, I guess you can go to a bank and borrow money if you really want to, but the seminaries do not facilitate and do not offer loans because they know that you need to not be going into debt. They also do it because they know that if you're going to be able to serve in ministry, you need to not be in debt. Ministers and missionaries usually don't make a lot of money. Okay, it's not usually, I mean, unless you're one of those very few people who hit it big on TV, you usually don't make big bucks. It's not the way it works. So if you're badly in debt, you will be drawn away from the ministry to make money, to pay your debts. So they help you stay out of debt by not offering loans. Now, the truth is that Joy and I got out of debt many years ago. But if we hadn't done that, if we had not gotten out of debt when we did, if we had not learned to control our spending when we did, then I wouldn't be here today. I would not be here today. It was learning to apply those biblical principles of finance that enabled me to continue in ministry because I don't have to be out paying off those credit cards or those student loans. Following God's instructions will change your life. It will change your destiny. Now, there is something that I need to make clear. Just as we're passing by this way, because I'm preparing this as a Christmas thing, it's not that you can't spend money. You can. God doesn't tell you not to spend your money. He wants you to be wise. If it's your money and you have it, you can spend it. What the Bible teaches is that you should not spend money that you don't have. That's where we get into trouble. We start spending money we don't have. When you borrow money to buy stuff, you are spending money that you don't have yet, and you are robbing what would have been yours in the future. That's where you get into trouble. The problem is we are choosing to sacrifice our future to pay for what we want today, to satisfy our cravings and our desires today. And that enslaves us so that we are not free in the future to do what we want or to do what God calls us to do. The struggle becomes more evident, I think, at Christmas time, because we often feel obligated to give presents to people. Okay, there's a social obligation. Our family members expect it. And there's nothing wrong with giving presents. There's nothing wrong with being a generous person, a giving person. I think that's actually a Christian way to behave. It's a wonderful thing to do, so long as you are giving from what you have. If you have it and you share it and you give it, that's wonderful. No problem. But you are not under any obligation to give what you don't have. Never let people make you feel guilty because you didn't go into debt to buy them presents. That is not your responsibility. And I know it's a great temptation. We want our families to be happy, especially our kids and our grandkids. But if you're going into debt to buy presents for your kids, let me point out this little dynamic about time. Chances are those kids will have outgrown and lost interest in the presents you buy them before you're done paying them off. Is that really worth it? Now, here's an even greater irony. Our society celebrates the birth of Christ. I mean, that's what we're celebrating, right? Jesus came to our world. We're excited that he came, and I don't care about whether it was December 25th or not the 25th. I think we can celebrate every day. Jesus came, and we're excited, and it's right for us to celebrate that he came to our world. So that's really what we're celebrating at Christmas. We want to celebrate that Jesus came, and we are doing that, celebrating the birth of Christ, by deliberately disobeying his instructions on how to live. That's the irony. If you're going to go into debt to purchase Christmas presents, that's what you're doing. You're celebrating the birth of Jesus by refusing to follow the instructions that he gave in his word. The Bible teaches we should avoid borrowing from anyone. We should avoid debt. Now, this doesn't just apply to your own debt. It also could apply to any debt we could become responsible for, such as you co-signing a loan for a friend or a family member. Here's what the Bible has to say about that. This is Proverbs chapter 11, verse 15. If someone puts up security for a stranger, he will suffer for it, but the one who hates such agreements is protected. Proverbs 17:18. One without sense enters an agreement and puts up security for his friend. Proverbs 27:13. Take his garment, for he has put up security for a stranger, and get collateral if it is for foreigners. Why do you need to get collateral for someone who co-signs for a stranger or for foreigners? Well, because they obviously are incapable of managing their money and cannot be trusted to pay it back. So you better get the collateral up front. That's what it says. You have no guarantee if they're guaranteeing someone else's loan for a stranger or foreigner. If you put up security for someone, whether it's a stranger or a friend or even a family member, you are exposing yourself to potential loss. Why? Because you are now the backup responsible party. In our society, we generally call this co-signing for a loan. I mean, you get some relative that wants you to come in and co-sign so they can get something. So simply put, the Bible says that the person who co-signs a loan or who signs guaranteeing someone else's debt lacks sense. They are stupid. God doesn't hold any punches here. And they will suffer the consequences of their foolishness. That's what it says. You know, a few years back, my son Alex, he went to buy a car and I went with him. Never go to buy a car by yourself the first time you're doing it. I mean, you always want someone with you who's been down that road before. And the salesman said to us, he said it would be easier if I co-signed the loan. And Alex looked him straight in the eye and said, he will never co-sign a loan. It's against his religion. I was impressed Alex knew that. I was like, okay, he's been paying attention. He's heard what I've had to say. But the salesman was just in shock, and he wanted to know, what kind of religion is against co-signing loans? And Alex said, well, he's a Christian. Salesman was just shocked. Apparently, he'd never met a Bible-believing Christian before. I'm sure he's met lots of people who would say they're Christians, but they just co-sign anyway. Now, I know there can be a lot of peer pressure from people who want you to co-sign a note. They want you to help them get a loan, your family, your friends. This is really hard with family. But the biblical answer is don't do it. God says no. If you do that, you lack sense. Furthermore, if their credit requires a co-signer, that's a good warning sign that this person is the person you should not be co-signing for. Common sense also says no. So God says to the person who does such a thing lacks sense. Just don't do it. Now, maybe you've made mistakes in these areas. Maybe I've testified before you some of the mistakes I've made. I mean, when I was young, I was much too quick with the credit card. And maybe, we've all made many mistakes in this area. Now, maybe that's because you didn't know or understand what God expected of you. There's a lot of people who will tell you, I believe the Bible from cover to cover. Problem is they've never read the Bible from cover to cover. And so they don't know what God wants from them. They haven't learned it yet. Sometimes people are shocked at what God has to say. And this was probably one of those that's very countercultural. But I think most of the time, it's not that we don't know what's right. We are just experts in making excuses. We can come up with any excuse to justify our choice to disobey God's instructions. It's why it's necessary for us. It's necessary. It's an emergency. It's kind of like Adam and Eve in the garden. God said, don't eat from this tree. They sure could come up with reasons to, couldn't they? Well, I'm going to tell you that every sin works that way. If you let yourself start justifying it, you let yourself start explaining it, you will have a reason why you should disobey what God said because it looks good to you. So what do you do if you've gotten yourself into debt or you've co-signed for someone else's loan? Proverbs chapter 6, beginning in verse 1, we read this. My son, if you have put up security for your neighbor or entered into an agreement with a stranger, you have been snared by the words of your mouth, trapped by the words from your mouth. Do this then, my son, and free yourself, for you have put yourself in your neighbor's power. Go humble yourself and plead with your neighbor. Don't give sleep to your eyes or slumber to your eyelids. Escape like the gazelle from a hunter, like the bird from a hunter's trap. I think he's saying, run for your life. Okay, if you're in debt, or if you have guaranteed someone else's loan, then what you need to do first is recognize you've gotten caught in a trap. It's a trap. And you need to quickly get yourself free from that trap as fast as you can. Now, unfortunately, getting free from the trap of debt is not easy. It's not easy. If it is your debt, the way you get free from it is to pay it back. You borrowed the money, you work night and day to pay it back. You work extra to pay it back. You do whatever it takes to get out of that debt. Sometimes you might have a yard sale, sell stuff, but be careful. Don't sell stuff you're already still paying on. Maybe you've been there. But you borrowed it, you owe it, you pay it back. That's the biblical way to get free. And you do everything you can to pay it back as quickly as you can while not digging the hole any deeper. Okay, don't keep repeating the debt. Don't keep repeating the debt. If you've co-signed for someone else's loan, then there is some potential options. Not a lot, but a little. But you should understand, once you co-sign for someone else's loan, you are legally obligated for the length of the loan you signed for. Even if it's not yours, you have legally obligated yourself for someone else's debt. If your friend or your relative fails to make those payments, you are illegally obligated to pay them. That's what co-signing is. How do you get out of this mess after you've co-signed someone's loan? Well, you could try to get the borrower to refinance without you signing for them. Okay, if they refinance the loan and the new refinance loan does not have your signature, that gets you off the hook. Okay. And on occasion, people will co-sign because someone has low credit or they have not yet established credit. And so you're helping them get into the cycle of debt like everyone else. But sometimes that happens. Chances are, if you had to co-sign for them, it's because they didn't have the credit to finance it on their own. So now, it'll be a matter of their willingness, but also a matter of their ability to get you off the hook. This is where you beg and plead. Okay, that's what's said in Proverbs. You go and beg and plead your neighbor to get out of this. Well, this is what that's talking about. But sometimes they might be able to refinance it. Another option that you could request is a cosigner release from the lender. But chances are, unless the primary person who took the loan has shown a couple of years of good credit activity, of good payments, it's very unlikely the lender is going to want to let you off the hook. That's why they have a cosigner, because they don't know for sure that the person borrowing the money will pay them. And so they want someone on the hook if they don't. When you cosign, you're the one on the hook, in the trap. There is another option. You could pay off the loan in full. Technically, once you sign for something, you do owe the money. That's what a cosigner is. You're the backup ower. That's what you're co-signing for. You're guaranteeing that this bill will be paid if the other person fails to do so. And that means it does technically become your debt. And so it is money that you owe until it's paid off. So paying it off can be one option to get rid of it. Now, none of these are quick and easy solutions. It's hard to get out of the debt trap. Guys, it took me years to get out of the traps I was in, and I never co-signed for anybody but just my own debt. It took me years to get out of it. What's far better is to listen to God's word in the first place so you don't get into the trap. Okay? That God will help you from getting into this mess. His wisdom will keep you from this trap. If you are in it, he can help you get out of it. But guys, best thing is don't get in the first place. When should you take action and pay back what you owe? If you realize, wait a minute, I've done things wrong, how should you approach that? Well, Proverbs chapter 3, verse 27. When it is in your power, don't withhold good from the one to whom it belongs. Don't say to your neighbor, go away and come back later. I'll give it tomorrow when it is there with you. Now, this verse can have a couple different applications. We'll look at a different one in another week. But one of the applications is when you owe somebody something and you have the ability to pay it, you should do it right away. If it's theirs, you owe it to them and it's within your power to give it to them, do it. Pay it now. Don't put off paying your debts. Don't tell your neighbor to come back and you'll pay them tomorrow. If you have what you owe them with you, it's in your pocket, you can pay it, do it now. I think it was Augustine who said, God has promised forgiveness to your repentance. He has not promised tomorrow to your procrastination. If you find yourself trapped in debt, the best advice you can get to get out of it is start working on it now, this minute. Don't go deeper. Don't run out of here and go, buy your lunch on a credit card. Okay? Most places take credit cards. You know why they take credit cards? They know you will spend more money if you use a credit card than if you're paying cash. They have all found they make more money if they take credit cards, even with the fees associated that they have to pay. So start doing it now. Pay it as soon as possible so that you minimize the impact of the debt on your future finances. The faster you pay it off, the less it will cost you in the long run. Debt works really simple. Time. The faster you do it, the more it's on your side. The slower you go, the worse it is. Now, why is debt such a difficult struggle for us? I don't know about you. I had a difficult struggle with this. It took me years to learn to apply what seems like just these simple verses. Why is it such a difficult struggle? Well, really, I think it really comes down to this. This is Proverbs chapter 27, verse 20. It says, Sheol and Abaddon are never satisfied, and people's eyes are never satisfied. We usually borrow more than we can afford because we are trying to satisfy our desires. There's something I want, and I don't want to tell myself no. I want to satisfy my desires. The problem is those desires will never be satisfied. They will never be satisfied. We will always want something more. You know, you could go out and have a gourmet lunch today. I guarantee tomorrow you're going to want lunch again. It will not fix the problem. See, one of the big problems with borrowing in the finances for things is the things you want is there'll never be an end to what you want. There's always going to be something more, something you hope for, something you dream of, something that will make your life complete, something that will make your life convenient. You will always want more. And so if you try to fulfill your desires by borrowing, you will always be going deeper and deeper in debt because you're always trying to fulfill those endless desires. To fight this, you have to have a change of heart so that you desire God's will for your life more than you desire the stuff of this world. Jesus actually talked about quite a bit about, abandoning the things of this world to follow him. Well, this is the dynamic. We need a change of heart. If you want to overcome the debt-driven culture that we live in, you need Jesus to change your heart. And the reason Christians are drowning in debt, and most of them are, just like I used to be, is because we are dependent upon the world to satisfy our needs and our desires. To be financially free so that your debt will not enslave you to the things of this world, you must change what you desire from the things of the world to the things of heaven. You have to make God your priority, because until he's your priority, you will not conquer this beast. It'll be in your way. You have to stop looking at your credit cards as a way to provide your daily bread and start praying to your Heavenly Father to provide your daily bread. Jesus did not say, tell you to pray to your credit card who is in heaven, give us our daily bread. He did not say, go down to Discover and get what you need to survive in the world. You know what he said? He said, pray to your Father in heaven and ask him to give you your daily bread. So let me ask you, when you go to the store, when you're out meeting your needs, who are you depending on? The system of the world or the system of God? See, we need to go to God with our daily needs rather than the world's financial structures that are designed to keep us enslaved. Guys, it's not a fair game. It's a rat race, and you're the rat trapped in the cage. They want to keep you there because they want to keep getting that money. They don't want you to get free. The world does not want you to be free, but God does. Do you want to be free from the chains of debt? Well, you can only make that happen when you stop spending more than you make. I know, it comes down to math, guys. Math's not always my favorite thing either, but it comes down to math. You can't spend more than you make. If you spend more than you make, you're in trouble. If you spend less than you make, you're going to be happy. They're going to be leftover. You'll have money. You must only spend what you can afford. And you must limit your desires and your Christmas shopping list to what is reasonably attainable based on your income. Now, if you're not happy with that, find a way to make more money. That's okay. There's nothing in the Bible that says you can't work harder. That's what you want to do. You want to go get a second job? I've known people who had 3 jobs. Okay, that's fine. That's what you want to do. Usually they're financing cars and whatever, but that's what they want to do. But don't go into debt. If you fail to free yourself from the chains of debt by only spending less than you make, then what happens is you are selling, the moment you spend more than you make, you are selling yourself into slavery, robbing your future hopes, your future dreams, because you have already spent tomorrow's resources on today. You're robbing tomorrow's bread to meet today's needs through the world. But God calls us to walk by faith, to follow Christ, to trust God for his provision, not MasterCard. So I would challenge you this morning. We all need to do this. Examine ourselves. Look and see what really is my heart motive. And how can I bring my heart to Christ so that he is correctly aligning my priorities to follow him. And so that I will walk in the freedom that only Jesus provides. Guys, the world is not going to give you freedom, but Jesus came to set you free. And that means from the world's debt. He sets us free. Thank you for watching this video. If you live in the greater Phoenix area, we would love to have you come and worship with us in person any Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. The Meadows Baptist Church is located at 3701 West Beardsley Road. That's the side road of the 101, just west of 35th Avenue. We would love to have you pop by as we celebrate Jesus together.